I can't actually believe this. This morning, I've just put a poll up before the live has started asking whether sending Mason Mount out on loan was a good move or a bad move. And the majority of people are saying that at the moment, it's a bad move for Mason Mount. I was always interested to see what people's opinions would be. If Mason Mount is fit, he can be a weapon. But the unreliability of Mason Mount and his injuries, I thought would have swayed this vote the other way. We're going to talk about that and the rumour around Mason Mount going out on loan this morning in the live show to kickstart match day. I can't believe match day on a Friday night. God, where's this season gone? But 3 more games left to go. One of them tonight against Chelsea. Looking ahead to that and what Ruben has said. Manchester United players have forgotten about being a Manchester United player. Like I said, the update on Mason Mount and his loan move away from Manchester United next season. Bayindir's future and what that brings Manchester United. More details have come in on that. How much Manchester United stand to make off the back of winning on Wednesday night. Forget about tonight. It's all about Wednesday, isn't it, really? And Ryan Shirkey's hint at his future. Going to look into that one as well this morning. And of course, getting all of your match day vibes early doors on a Friday match night. It does seem weird. I'm not going to lie. It does seem very weird actually having a game on a Friday. But look, it is here and another game gone. Ruben's message is very clear. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Please do get your comments into the live chat as well, everybody. If you are watching in later on, all of your news will be at the start of the show around the first 20 minutes. Then we're going to have sections where we bring in the chat as well. And obviously we're going to get a little bit of chat going regarding that game tonight and what Ruben has said also. So we're going to start with that news, and it's come from the Muppeteers, who are a very reliable source when it comes to Manchester United and news coming about. And I can see the complete sense in this. Please do vote on that poll. Yes or no? Sensible move for Mason Mount to be sent out on loan. Now, when you look at it, the story reads that Manchester United are weighing up every single option. And last night on the video, I was talking about Manchester United pursuing not just Cunha, but Semenyo from Bournemouth as well. About to spend 125 million on 2 more number 10s. And there is no one putting any cold water on any of these deals. We know Cunha's coming, and Semenyo is moving forward quite quickly now. So there's quite a lot of people talking about that happening. So with Manchester United already having the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Ahmad, Garnacho, Xerxes, and then you're bringing in Cunha, then you're bringing in the likes of Semenyo as well, and you're looking at Kobbie Mainoo probably being a number 10 as well at Manchester United. Someone had to miss out. We talked about that last night. I didn't think it would be Mason Mount. All I've heard is Ruben Amorim talking, glowing reference on Mason Mount, what he brings, the perfect professional attitude. But let's be honest, Mason Mount on £250,000 a week, and that's what he will be on for definite as a base wage if Man United win the Europa League next week, and being a bit part bench player on that money, that I don't think fits with the structure of Manchester United. This is what I feel is going to be pushed by the structure of Manchester United. As in, if Ruben wants Manchester United's forward line to look completely different and have better quality players at his disposal week in, week out, there has to be a sacrifice. So I think this is where the structure takes over. And they probably say to Ruben, look, we want to give Mason Mount the best opportunity. Let's see if we can loan him out this season so we can get regular game time, because he's not going to get it at Manchester United if you're bringing these players in. As much as I know he likes Mount and he's ahead of players at Manchester United right now, he's not ahead of Ahmad, he's not ahead of Bruno, and he won't be ahead of Cunha. So 250 grand a week sat on the bench, it doesn't make sense. And then if you bring in Semenyo, then night. Like, what is the point? So 250 grand a week goes a long way. If someone can pay the majority of that wage, take him out on loan, and you can use that then to finance another deal, and then possibly sell Mason Mount the summer after, or he becomes this great player that you've got and he's still on your books because he's been loaned out and got the game time he needs, then maybe this works out for Manchester United. When you look at it, it does start to turn into a sensible move. And I can see right now the percent has moved about 5% just with me talking about why this might actually fit United. Look, Mason Mount is never going to be sold by Manchester United. I think Ruben Amorim wants to keep him at Manchester United, but when Ruben talks, and he talks about the necessary actions that Manchester United need to make when it comes to this transfer window, then certain things are going to have to be done. And I said it last night, I said it again this morning, sacrifices are going to have to be made. You cannot be giving Kobbie Mainoo a new contract and then not playing him. You've got Mason Mount on $250,000 a week who doesn't play hardly at all. And we're all scared as to when Mason Mount's next injury is going to come. Let's be honest, I am singing the praises of Mason Mount. I like him as a player. I think he brings more than Alejandro Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. I really do think he fits that Ruben Amorim system better. But there is something somewhere within this that's telling Manchester United that you cannot rely on Mason Mount to be one of your 10s next season. And this is why United are going in for 2. Apparently, according to the sources. So I just wanted to talk about this morning, and I found it fascinating how everybody looks at Mason Mount, because he is that player that nobody can really put a pin in and just say, you are this, he's going to play this role, I think I can see him doing this next season. He is the complete unknown, and he is one of them disastrous transfers that Manchester United made in that summer when we should have been going in for Mason Mount. When we shouldn't have been going in for Mason Mount, we should have been going for Declan Rice. We didn't need Mason Mount at the time. And I remember forever and a day talking through all of last season as well about Mason Mount not being needed at Manchester United. We had an abundance of 10s already. We wasn't struggling in that area. And we went and spent $55 million on a player that had just come back off a chronic hip issue, which had kept him out for 3 months towards the back end of that season. Went straight in, bid Chelsea a ridiculous price straight away, what they wanted. We didn't even go in and negotiate. We went in straight away with their highest price. And honestly, again, just an example of poor management at Manchester United and recruitment. And then gave him $250,000 a week and the number 7 shirts. That he's just... No matter which way you look at the Mason Mount transfer, and I'm just make this clear right now, I don't mind the player at all. I like Mason Mount as a player. It just didn't work out for Manchester United from any part of that deal. It wasn't something that United should have done. It should have been a different player, but he's here, and we now have to deal with it. And I just feel like the reliability of Mason Mount is always going to be called into question. Look, since he's been back, he's been fit and available for every single game. And that is a huge positive. So when you look at it on paper, how many games have Manchester United played since Mason Mount has been back? When you look at the 7 league games, he's been available for all of them. He was available for Leicester before we went away. And that's where we were with Mason Mount. And since then, Manchester United have had 4 Champions League games, not Champions League, Europa League games and 7 league games. So Mason Mount has actually been available for going on now with this game tonight, 12 games in a row for Manchester United. It's miraculous. and obviously, if he's fit and that is his availability throughout the season, then I understand what Manchester United are thinking, and Mason Mount stays and he plays a big part. But I just look at it and go, if Ruben wants these players in, Manchester United are looking at giving Kobbie Mainoo a new contract. I think there has to be a sacrifice elsewhere. I do believe that Mason Mount makes sense to me to go out on loan. Now, again, it's going to divide opinion. And when I just look at the poll right now on whether this is a sensible deal or not, 45% of you are saying yes, 55% no. Now, I think the majority of people, when they look at Mason Mount, they look at squad rotation. If United don't make Champions League football, I think Mason Mount goes out on loan. If we make Champions League football by winning next Wednesday night, then I see Mason Mount staying at Manchester United as another rotational player, because in worst case scenario, we can drop back a little bit deeper and play a different role for Manchester United. Not ideal and not where we want to go, but Ruben will look at that as numbers. He will look at that as squad depth and quality in depth, and that is where Manchester United need to be. But let's not forget, in the position that Manchester United are actually in, the financial situation, how bad we are on the pitch, the performances, where we are in the league, clinging on to the Europa League to actually get us into Europe next season through the back door. Manchester United are not where these other top Premier League clubs are, where they have got squad depth because they need squad depth, because they're in the Champions League consistently. United are in the depths right now. They're in the trenches and they're trying to dig themselves back out. And certain sacrifices have to be made for, first of all, to try and manufacture a working starting 11. That's got to be the main target for this summer, that your starting 11 is the best it can possibly be. If injuries happen, but we are in no position with our squad anyway to actually say that we are capable of competing in the Premier League and the Champions League next season. The first and foremost that Manchester United need to be looking at and need to be rectifying is that starting 11. And that's what I think this transfer, or not so much a transfer alone, would give United room for. I think it gives us that option to go out and get another 3 forwards, a 9 and 2 10s, or 2 9s and a 10, whatever it may be. I think it just gives us that option, because 250 grand a week wages, no one's going to pay that. Maybe even if you get a little bit of it paid, like someone comes and pays 150 grand a week wages for Mason Mount, pays 2/3 pretty much of Mason's wages in a loan deal. Manchester United have got that off the books, and that pays for Liam Delap's wages, or a big part of Matheus Cunha's wages. But it also gives you the room then to go out and spend what other money you've got on another player to come in. And that's the difference, I think. And that's where I don't want Mason Mount to be the sacrifice. I just feel like the club, I think they look at Kobbie Mainoo as the future. And with him being a homegrown player, and that shouldn't even come into it. It should be judged purely off talent and quality. And I think Mason Mount matches Kobbie Mainoo in a lot of areas in a number 10. You're splitting hairs as to who you put in. I think Mason Mount knows the system better, and therefore at the moment is ahead of Kobbie Mainoo for me. That's just my own opinion. But I think with the financial side of things and what United need to do, and like I just said, how desperate we are, being in the trenches and our squad being so crap, maybe this is a sacrifice United are willing to make just for one season, knowing that they've still got Mason Mount there available after that. But 3 years into his contract then, that's a lot more of that transfer fee paid off for Mason Mount as well. And Manchester United are going to be in a situation this time next season, if he is loaned out next season, where they could look at him and go, right, he's done absolutely brilliant on loan, let's get him back into our squad, he's got his game time, he's over his injuries. Or Manchester United in a position where he may have played a few games, his injuries have come back, it's not ideal, but we may have the opportunity to sell him next summer because there's another big chunk of his transfer fee paid off. I think at the moment, Manchester United, I think, need to get over 30 million quid for Mason Mount to break even with financial fair play. And that's including his wage package on that as well. So United need to generate a sale of plus 30 million for Mason Mount to get him out of the books and clear the PSR debt. No one's going to pay that for Mason Mount. Another year off of instalment payments maybe brings that down to 20-something million. And then you're looking at that as like do you know what? That's a bit more of a... It's not risk-free, but it's definitely not as dangerous for another club to come in and spend that sort of money on Mason Mount. That's how I look at it. I mean, when you look at Mason Mount and the headline going out on loan, you have to sort of dig deep into why Manchester United might do that, especially after what, like I said, Ruben Amorim said, and how much he likes Mason Mount. So I think what you've got to see is how Manchester United are going to plan around it and what it brings to them. It brings a big chunk of the wage bill, and it gives a space to somebody who could probably be a little bit more reliable, going off form and how he's actually been at Manchester United. That's it. That is it. Let's see. Let's get a few comments in on this now, everybody. Get your comments in on this one. Selling Garnacho but keeping Mount would be completely ludicrous decision. This is the thing. So where I've made the point about... Manchester United selling Garnacho, everybody's come in and said we cannot be doing that. Look at the other players that we've got here, Mason Mount. I spun it around and said, well, what if Mason Mount goes and Garnacho stays then? And he's the sacrifice, and people still come in and trying to say, or play it down and say it's a ludicrous story. Look, if the Muppeteers are talking about this, that United are thinking of this, this is what we've been talking about all along. Mason Mount could be a player that is sent out on loan, just like Rasmus Højlund could be a player that's sent out on loan. We're talking about all the players that were bought in that second summer under Ten Hag, and them all being an issue right now. Mason Mount is not as much of an issue as the likes of Onana and Rasmus Højlund, who were also bought in that year. They're not as much of an issue when it comes to quality of player. No, but what they are, I think... personally, is players that are probably further up the list that Ruben Amorim wouldn't want in his team. You get what I'm saying by that? Like, I think Onana and Højlund and Mount, if Ruben had to choose one or two of them players, I think Mason Mount would still be here and Rasmus and Onana would go. But Rasmus Højlund and Andre Onana are that bad that United will always struggle to get rid of them players. Whether or not someone takes Rasmus Højlund on loan. I don't think that's even possible for Manchester United because we don't have another striker. Mason Mount is part of a group of 8 number 10s at Manchester United. If all of the stories are right about Matheus Cunha, I keep saying this. I've seen Graham in the chat there trying to make light of it. I'm sorry, this is just what is happening right now. Somebody has to be sacrificed in a number 10 role. And let's have a look at what you've got there. You've got Garnacho is a homegrown player that you could sell. That's one option, I think. Mainu is going to sign this contract, and then you're stuck with him. He's going nowhere. Zirkzee's 1 year in. He can't go. Bruno Fernandes won't go before any of them players that I'm talking about. Ahmad is our best 10 and most creative player. And then you bring in Matheus Cunha in for 62 million. Sorry, you've got to look at it, and you're looking at the pecking order. Mason Mount there, he's there with Garnacho. It's them two. They're the 2 players that you have to decide are going to go. It's between Garnacho and Mainu. They're the ones that make sense. Let's just see now what have we got here. Let's get some more comments in on this one. Fact is, he came on and helped win us the game, so we shouldn't be so quick to be kicking him out off the boat at the moment. There's others. Well, yeah, I said Garnacho. Who else? Who else? Which other 10 at Manchester United is going to go ahead of Mason Mount? Who? Like Zirkzee, I mentioned that Inter Milan are using him as a target last night, and that could possibly happen, but let's be honest. Can you see Zirkzee going after 1 year? I don't, personally. And I think he has actually turned his season around. You look at all of them. Like, if Mainu signs his contract, he's in. I think Manchester United, I think it was Carl who said in the chat last night, I think there's a better chance that Kobbie Mainoo gets sold and there'll be more suitors for Kobbie Mainoo than Garnacho. And right now, Kobbie Mainoo, I don't know where he plays for Manchester United. So you could say like the 3 players in question here, I think, in terms of making way for other players coming in, are Garnacho, Mason Mount and Kobbie Mainoo, all with their own circumstances as to why they would leave United. Mount would be alone, with possibly looking at a transfer after the loan deal. Garnacho would bring Man United 100% profit and isn't fitting in and has been a problem before for Ruben Amorim. I still feel like he can turn it around under Ruben and maybe could be used as a squad player and rotation if he's happy with that. He's not costing United anything. He's on really low wages, so that is the benefit of Garnacho. He said he's happy at United on the contract he's on. It's only 50 grand a week wages. And that's the type of player you want in your squad as a versatile player coming in squad rotation, like I said. That's perfect. And that's where Garnacho is. If he's willing to accept that, perfect. I'm completely on board with Garnacho staying at that because that's where his level is. And he needs to get better and learn playing behind other better players. And I think this is what Ruben would ideally want as well in this. In that he's got players and young players coming through at United that know their position. Kobbie Mainoo's a problem because of that contract and what he's demanding. He doesn't warrant it, and we all know this. And then you've got Mason Mount, who's on stupid amounts of money that you cannot trust. Now, if you can loan him and get someone to actually pay majority of that wages, it makes sense in a way. It does. It does make sense that Mason Mount is the one that leaves. Look, I would keep Mason Mount, just so you're all clear on this, over Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo in terms of quality of player. And I think Ruben thinks that way as well. I really do. Because let's be honest, if everyone's fit, can you see either Kobbie Mainoo or Garnacho starting that game? I think Mount starts the game ahead of both of them for Ruben Amorim. I've said this before. You can look at it as my opinion on what I think is happening. I'm going off what I think Ruben will work with as well. And if I'm going to trust and put everything behind Ruben Amorim, then I'm going to trust the players that he has shown a bit more faith in and thinks he can get more out of, because he's going to stick to this system. So I have to go as a fan and say, right, what players actually fit this system better, then I've got a better chance of us actually seeing better football if he's going to persist playing this way. Mason Mount is ahead of Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. Like I said at the top of the show, just to balance this out, I think this is where the structure is stepping in, and Ruben hasn't got full say on everything that goes on. It's totally different at United now, and this is where sometimes a manager gets put back in line by what's there, by football directors, technical directors and things like that. It's not one-way traffic. He says this needs to happen. Not anymore. And this, I think, is key for Manchester United. And this is totally different for us to actually talk about and dissect, I think, as well, because we've never had this before. Before, it would be a manager coming in who doesn't like him, he's gone. But someone will actually say to him, look, right, okay, if we sign Kobbie Mainoo onto this new deal, then all of a sudden, we need to find the money for that. And if we're going to bring in 2 more 10s, there has to be someone that leaves. So if there is somebody that's leaving, Mason Mount is up there with them 3, I think. And unfortunately, that's the situation we've created ourselves through what we've done off the pitch to make us so poor on the pitch. And that will always be what Manchester United have to fight against in any transfer window going forward. The mistakes from before. And when you are where you are in the league, you have to make, I feel, some ruthless, cutthroat decisions that not everybody's going to like. Are you brave enough? Ruben said it in his press conference. Are you brave enough to make them calls and make them decisions? We'll see. And everybody laughing at me right now for bringing even up this story or talking about Garnacho leaving or any of the other stories. We will see, won't we, in the summer? Because something has to change. Something has to happen. Glenn Cowan, welcome to the Members Club, my friend. Thank you for that. Manny with a super chat says, to recover in 1 season, we need to sell 9. We can't sell 9 in 1 season, let alone 1 window. We are 3 or 4 windows away to clear the decks. Plus the buys. The reality is we are a 3-year recovery project. When you break that down, actually, Manny, when you look at the players that need to leave, we need to sell. Well, let's be honest. Look at it this way. Like Evans, Lindelof, Eriksson. There you've got, what, nearly 20 million a year in wages gone off the books of Man United. There's 3. You're also looking to move on Sancho, Rashford and Antony. There's 6 first-team players. So we're getting close now. We're getting close to it. 6 first-team players. If you start to look at the other ones that we're talking about, you could go into Casemiro. There's a real opportunity that he will go. 7. You're going to sell one of the 10s. 8. And then you're looking at maybe possibly one of the goalkeepers. 9. There's your 9 players, mate. There's your 9 players right there. And that opens up the door for Manchester United to actually make these. So you could say, Manny, that there is a chance that this could happen in this window. There really is. I'm keeping a check on all the news that is going on in terms of Manchester United right now while we're live as well. Going to get through the rest of the comments, but there is some news there actually on Sir Jim Ratcliffe right now, which I'm going to get into as well for you all, about him losing. Ratcliffe loses 6.5 billion of total wealth in staggering blow for Man United and manager Ruben Amorim's ambitious summer transfer plans. I'll read into that in a moment. That sounds doesn't sound good at all, does it, when you read the headline? Zane in with a super chat says, if you win the Europa, I heard Jim is doing a barbecue and not an open top parade. Will you do a watch along for that? What, for the barbecue? If it's on, should I do a watch along for the barbecue? Like, I like my food, Zane, mate, but nah, I've got better things to do. It'll just make me hungry as well, mate, and I'll just want to go and have my own. So, nah, I'll leave that one. Thanks for the super chat, mate. It's completely random as it is. Yes. If United have the opportunity to have an open-top bus parade, but Arsenal don't, and we're not taking the option up. We only celebrate major trophies, and we're too far away from them, mate, so not happening. It's about intensity off the bench. Mounts has intensity. I trust him to come on and create inside 20 minutes. I don't trust others have that. I don't trust others have that in them. And Welshman Forever, welcome to the Members Club as well. Thank you, mates. And that super chat was from Greg. I get that trust factor that you're talking about there, Greg, actually. That does make sense. We are creeping up to 1,000 votes on that poll. Is sending Mason Mount out on loan a sensible option for Manchester United? At the moment, 46% of you are saying yes, 54% saying no. I like them numbers. I do, because I like Mason Mount. Let's get a few more comments in quickly before we move on to that other story. United are looking to sign more than 3 or 4 players, with 3 or 4 numbers going around in the main targets for first team. They will bring in a couple more as squad players. The squad players can come in later down the line. I've said it before, United need to concentrate on the starting 11 right now. I would sell Bruno, Garnacho and Mainu for the combined 240 million. United could massively improve the first 11 with these funds. I would sell or release a total of 13 players and bring in 8. That's proper Championship manager stuff there, Gareth. I get it, mate. I'm totally with you. In fact, if United sold Garnacho, Bruno and Kobbie Mainu, like Gareth said there in the comment section, for $250 million, would anybody really kick up that big a stink if United invested that money fully back into the squad and actually changed the shape and face of Manchester United starting 11 completely? Just putting that question out there. Would you do it? Interesting, isn't it? Quickly want to move to that story that is in the Mirror. I'm just going to bring it up now, actually. It's just been sent to me now. The headline reads, I'll read it again. This is breaking news. This is just coming out. Ratcliffe loses 6.5 billion of total wealth in staggering blow for Man United and manager Ruben Amorim's ambitious summer transfer plans. This is from the Mirror, mind, so let's just have a look at this. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a long way from bringing success to Manchester United. United co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe has seen his wealth decrease by 6.5 billion over the last 12 months. The British billionaire's staggering loss was the biggest among those included in the Sunday Times Rich List in 2025. So this is just a general sort of oversight of the richest people in England, I'm guessing. Ratcliffe was ranked 4th in 2024's list and topped the standings in 2018, but he has now fallen to become the 7th richest individual in Britain, behind the likes of Sir James Dyson and Gopi Hinduja and his family, who sits top of the list. Sorry if I said that name wrong there. Ineos chief, who completed a deal to buy into United last year, was worth 23.5 billion in the 2004 Rich List. However, that has now decreased by 6.4 million to 17 billion. He has lost almost 3 billion more than the second biggest slider on the top 10 list in Sir Leonard Blavatnik, who saw 3.5 billion saved off his total wealth of 25 billion. So this is just a story from the Daily Mirror. All this is going to do, it's not really a main headline. What it is, though, is proof that it isn't going that well off the pitch for Manchester United's co-owner. And these riches and this money that we thought that Sir Jim Ratcliffe had are dwindling down to nothing. Well, it's not nothing, is it? You've got to look at like the liquid assets. You've got to look at the cash that he's actually got. That's where you could say that he's ready to. That's the sort of money you can invest into anything. Like everything else is taken up. The Qataris, by the way, everybody, just stop talking about it. It's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. It's an absolute bullshit story. The Qataris are never going to get their hands on Manchester United. Not yet. Trust me on that one. It isn't happening. So you're going to have to deal with what Manchester United can do and how Manchester United can be successful about generating their own money. That's the only thing you can look at. And to be honest, with United's revenues, there is no reason why Manchester United should need a absolute oligarch, billionaire owner, wherever it may be, state-funded ownership model. They don't need it. United are self-sufficient. It just has to be run right. That's it. And United can do this. You only have to look at how much money the bleeding club generates. So Jim Ratcliffe got scammed out of 1.25 billion in buying a share in this club. Might as well have thrown the money in the bin. Look, what is success for Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Just off the back of this, before we move on to the next story, quickly. If United win the Europa League in their first season, they'd have won a major trophy and brought United back into the Champions League. Balance the books, balance the sheets, and if they do get Manchester United back into the Champions League next season, miraculously, like I said, would anybody start changing their mind? Champions League, 2 seasons in a row under their part ownership of the football club. Is that how you would judge their success, really? Is that successful enough? Or is it basically they have to win a trophy within the first few years? Are we not giving them time to actually see what they can do? I know that it could get worse in that time as well, but I'm just asking everybody what they would see or what they think success would be. and how long you would give them to generate that success. Because everybody in the comments has said United cannot do this straight away. But then again, saying that Ineos are the worst thing that's happened and we need the Qataris in straight away, it kind of goes against what you just said. Like, you're saying that United need 3 or 4 windows. You're saying it's going to take time. We can't do it all in one summer. But this is all Ineos' fault because they haven't turned United around within their first couple of seasons. Doesn't it need time to actually generate that success? Does it need time for them to actually implement this plan? What is success? That's the question I'm asking anyway. Manu needs to be played in 6 or 8, not 10. No, mate. Manu's a 10. He can't play 6 or 8. He hasn't got the legs for it, pal. He played 10 throughout his whole academy career. Watched him in the under-21s, mate. He is a 10, and he plays better there. Look at his good games and where they've come from and where he's playing in them games. He isn't good enough for 8 and 6. I don't think he's quick enough off the mark, and I don't think he's got the engine to play a number 8. And if you're going to spend this amount of money on wages on him, you definitely need to find the right position for him. 8 and 6 are not it. They're really not. That article was written by a Spurs fan who hasn't seen a cup in 35 years on this planet. I'm not even going to... Do you know what, Manny? Thanks for the super chat again, mate. I'm not even going to mention Spurs. I don't want to mention him because I have this horrible feeling in my mind that next week could go all wrong for Manchester United. I don't want to even mention the name or even I slag them off in any way, shape or form. I just don't want to curse it. Honestly, I'm crossing everything. I'm touching every single piece of wood. I'm looking at every single lucky charm that there possibly is to try and get Manchester United through that final and win it and get into the Champions League. I'm not even going to curse it. I'm not. Ineos and the Glazers out. So Jim is a joke. I probably wants Chelsea to win tonight. Until the club debt is cleared, this club will never compete again. I don't know, MA, and kind of disagree, Brett, with yours as well a little bit there, pal. I do think, like, look, you can call them a joke, but again, what is success? Tell me. What are we looking at as success? MA says, success is challenging for the Premier League and Champions League titles on a consistent basis, learning... what's that? Learning the club debt. I don't know what that means. Learning the club debt and overseeing a new stadium. I will measure Ineos on those 3 metrics. How long? How long? That's another question. How long are you giving them? Because you know it can't be done in one season. Everybody knows that. Even if you had a state ownership come in, you're not going to get that turnaround in that quicker time scale, are you? It's not going to happen. Cal says, I don't get people digging Ineos for performance. They had 1 proper window. They can only buy in windows. Everyone said their window was good. They need windows before you can judge Ineos. I agree with what Cal's saying there. In 2 or 3 years' time, if we're in this position, then Ineos have failed. But you've got to give them that chance. And everyone is just going in now saying this is all going to fail because we haven't got the Qataris, because we haven't got... because we've got the Glazers still and Ineos in situ. It's easy to say that this is going to fail because we've not got off to a great start. We haven't. But I think one thing that every single Manchester United fan always said was that United really needed to hit that low so we could completely reset. We need a full reset. Maybe this is the reset. Don't know. We will see, won't we? But again, we can't say it until these transfers and these young signings that we've made have actually started to come through into United's team, and then we'll look back and go, actually, that was a good deal that United did back then, 4 or 5 years ago. We did well to get that player for that amount of money. People don't want to talk about positives, I don't think. But it's just the way that the club is, and the way that United are have made fans feel that way, and I get that as well. If United wins the Europa League, we cannot get into the Champions League due to Jim Radcliffe owns Nice, and you can't have 2 teams owned by the same person. The Champions League, well, we can, mate, and we will, because I don't think Nice are going to qualify for the Champions League. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. But there was a special order put in place for United and Nice to play in the Europa League together. Trust me on this one, Welshman. UEFA are not going to stop Man United playing in their biggest competition, which generates them the most money. Just like they are not stopping Real Madrid and Barcelona for still endorsing the Super League and playing in the Champions League and taking all their money. They're never, ever going to kick Man United out of the Champions League. They're too big a club and they need them for their own money. They will always find a way to make Manchester United be in the Champions League if they've qualified. Like they want the bigger teams in the competition. Otherwise, the competition loses its value. So, no, I don't see that happening, mate. But you're right, the rule says that. I just don't see Nice making it anyway now from where them standards are in France anyway. Right, moving on to the next story. I need to talk about Cherki and his hint. Would you take Ryan Cherki as one of them 10s? We talked about Mason Mount leaving United. Ryan Cherki has been talking in his last press conference ahead of Lyon's last game of the season and talked about having great memories at the football club, giving everything to Lyon and obviously not knowing what the future will bring. But he basically, the way he was talking was he's leaving this summer. And obviously we heard yesterday, and on top of this story, it went back to the story we talked about last night about Ryan Cherki and his agent contacting Manchester United. Now, I'm always wary when it says an agent has contacted a football club rather than the club contacting the player's agent, because it sounds desperate that the agent is trying to sell his player, and there's a reason why he's trying to sell his player. Whereas if a club go in for a player and contact them, it means that they see something in him specifically that they want in their team the following season. And I think Cherki contacting both Liverpool and Manchester United, that was the story we ran yesterday. And that's the story that is jumped off the back of this one as well this morning. But yeah, Cherki talking to the media ahead of the last game of the season, pretty much saying his farewells. Where is he going to go? That's the thing. He's been offered to Manchester United and his price is less than 30 million quid. He's 21 years old and his numbers are phenomenal. What is it with him? Someone tell me in the chat right now, actually. And do comment below as well when the video's finished. What is it about Ryan Cherki you don't like? Because everything else just looks too good to be true. It does. Like, he tore Man United apart in that second leg. He was brilliant on the pitch at Old Trafford. Didn't rate him in the first leg, even though he scored a goal, thanks to Nana. But, like I said, I think for what he... I'm not saying he's the best player on the planet, by the way. I think he's a good player, very good player. And I'm only talking about him because he falls into that really cheap bracket. 21-year-old in a position that we're looking at who has got great numbers and he's for less than 30 million. It makes sense, doesn't it, to at least look into this deal. So what is it with him that does not work? Because I'm not seeing enough noise about this player for any club. Right now, with the way that it stands with Ryan Cherki, there has to be somebody somewhere that's looking at him, surely. There needs to be more noise than what there is. It just doesn't fit right. It doesn't seem right. Like, why is nobody going all in on Cherki? I don't get it. So what is it about him? And do get your comments in on this. Daz said Cherki 100%. Don't feel we need more 10s unless we sell Garnacho, Mount and Kobe. 8% possession. Loses 2-0. What's the point? We need a 9 and an 8. Far more, says Ant. Well, the 10s are not providing either, mate. Let's be honest. Unless Bruno plays in there, we don't get anything. Garnacho isn't putting up the right amount of numbers. You've got Ahmad. Yes, I get that. And he's just back. So that should bring us back again. You're right. We do need the 9. But obviously, if we cannot get the right 9s, are we going to overload the 10 and bring back our goals and our numbers that way? I mentioned this last night. United not having an out-and-out number 9 goal scorer. You could say that Delap is going to bridge that gap a tiny little bit. But are we bringing up the rest of the numbers in a Cunha, in a Cherki, in a Semenyo? Are we expecting them players to score plenty of goals as well for Manchester United? That's what I would say. Remember that one season when Manchester City didn't have a striker, when there was no Aguero, and they scored more goals than one of their best seasons? They still find a way to make it happen. I'm not saying United are in City's league at the moment in terms of playing style and quality, but still, is this an option? Like, tell me. I'm asking you. It's not. I'm not telling you to believe this as a definite. I want your opinions on it as well. Adam, so Amorim's told you that has he an owner that has 2 teams in the same competition is against the rules? But if Amorim's told you, okay, will it be fine? I've no idea what you're saying there, Gary, mate. I just know that this season UEFA made a rule where Manchester United and Nice could both compete in the Europa League. And UEFA do own the Europa League as well as the Champions League. So if they're going to do it for one competition, they're going to do it for another. And we know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's trying to sell Nice right now. And if you looked into the details of why this happened and why both United and Nice could play in the Europa League, it's because Sir Jim Ratcliffe signed a document which proved that he had no say whatsoever in the running of Nice. He signed a document where they put that to UEFA, and that's how they got around it. So he didn't have any sort of influence on the day-to-day running on football matters at the club. Look, he is a part owner of that football club, we know this, but he signed something which got him away with it on the Europa League. I'm sure with UEFA owning and running both these competitions, it would be no issue with the Champions League. Gary, I'm not sure because your comment was a bit confusing, mate. Sorry. But that's how I'm just reading it, just to clarify what actually happened. Quickly, super chat in from Mama Manny again, a legend, mate. It's easy, Adam. Shirkey isn't Trincao. He doesn't have the bond with Cunha and Amorim and Bruno. You laugh now, mark my words. You don't know. Like, Shirkey was loved at Lyon. Like, we don't know until he stepped foot in the United shirt, mate. We don't know if any player is going to be the right player. You can only do your recruitment to a certain degree and then hope that that player can then take on the pressure of being a Manchester United player and putting that shirt on. That's it. A London gifted membership. Thank you very much, mate. Always on the ball with them. Thank you as well for everyone else who has commented and been in with the super chats as well. Just to go back to the poll from the start of the show to update you on the score. 53% of you are saying that sending Mason Mount on loan is not a sensible option for Manchester United. Not. And that is nearly 1,300 votes. Don't loan Mason Mount. 54% now saying that. So get your votes on that if you want to have your say as well, everybody. Let's see. Adam Shirkey doesn't have a defensive bone in his body. That's why he's not coming to United. I disagree again, Graham. But look, when you look at what Manchester United have got in their system with Ruben Amorim, everybody's looking at and just giving their own opinions. And the opinions are fine. I don't agree with all of them. And I know you don't all agree with mine as well. But I seen Shirkey doing defensive work in that Lyon game. Trust me, he did. And he did a lot of defensive work from the front. So I completely blow that one out. But look, he may not have the exact defensive attributes that Ruben wants, and maybe Graham's right on that side of things. Not enough. I do think that he does defend, and at that game, he was a menace. The best form of defence is attack. And being able to look after the ball. And I'm sure Ryan Shirkey, what he can do with the ball, is better than what some of Man United's forwards are as well at the moment. So, like I said, there are certain defensive capabilities that a player is going to have to work in a certain system, like Pep gets out of his players, like Eddie Howe gets out of Newcastle, Arteta with Arsenal, again Slot with Liverpool. All of the good teams, they all work hard. And as long as they work hard in their areas, and that fits their system, then they are the right player. Now, I wouldn't just disregard him completely, though. I wouldn't. I don't think that's fair. But, yeah. A says, get rid of Mainu and Garnacho whilst they've both got value. Congratulations to Barcelona on the treble last night as well. Let's just see now, using it as... well, when you look at... I'm just looking through a few more of your comments here right now. Bear with me a second, everyone. Couple of super chats coming in. Stephen says, UEFA allows two teams, one owner if clubs have separate management structures, financial independence, and no shared decision-making power. That's pretty much what I was trying to say before, but Stephen has put it miles better there in the super chat. Thank you, Stephen, for that, just to clarify what it means and how two teams with someone who is part of both of them teams can compete in the same competition. Glenn with another super chat on top of that. Nice already had to be run by a blind trust for this season, so there would be even even less reason to ban them if they both qualified this season. Again, Glenn there clarifying a lot more as well. Thank you for them super chats and comments coming in on top of them. Just to go back on the Mason Mount one as well, please keep your votes coming in on this one. We're looking at this from the story from what the Muppeteers said and if it has relevance to what Manchester United might need to do. Using what Ruben Amorim said in making them brave calls this summer, is this one of them brave calls? It's a general debate, people. It's not a definite. Don't lose your hair over it, and definitely don't get a bit nasty in the comments regarding it either. Mainoo and Garnacho be sold. They are in my 9. Ooh, Manny's 9 is getting rid of them. Bruno, Garnacho and Mainoo. God, can you imagine that? Someone said that before. And again, like, a lot of you in the chat are actually saying get rid of Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo. 2 of Man United's academy graduates being sold. That is significant movement from Manchester United. It really is. Right, so let's get into what Ruben actually said about Manchester United. Look, it's match day today, and we'll have all of the match day content building up to the game later on, everybody, as well. Don't forget also that we are running our match bingo games today. Please do download the app by scanning the QR code there on your screen or downloading the app off the link in the description. Match bingo, bringing the match day bingo cards to you, basically. Said that wrong then, sorry. But, yeah, dead easy. Download the app. Then deposit £5, get an extra £10 on top of that. It's £2 a card. Go on to the Chelsea and United game, and you've got 15 match events on your card. You're just crossing them off like you would in a bingo hall. If there's a throw-in, a certain minutes, it comes across, takes it off your screen. If you get 5 in a row, you get the line, obviously £25. Another £25 for another line, and then up to £300 jackpot if you get the full house on these games coming up, the last few of the season for Manchester United. Thanks again, Match Bingo. Great app, dead easy. Takes all the decision making out of it. You just got to hope that your team hits them marks. It's both teams actually within the game, so it's not one of them like fancy football ones where you actually got a player in playing against you in your team. That's horrible. That's why I don't like that. But I am doing, believe it or not, fancy football tonight as well. So more on that later on as well. A special fancy football game that I've created for anyone watching with the watch along later on against Chelsea. Ahead of that Chelsea game, Ruben Amorim has said in his embargoed press conference, which the quotes came out for late last night, he has said that these players have to play in this Chelsea game. If they don't play, basically, if you're fit, you're going to play. Nobody's being rested. Nobody's being looked at and put aside for the game against Spurs on Wednesday. You have to perform. You have to perform in this game. Your place in the final is up for grabs. But one of the most interesting comments and quotes from Ruben Amorim from that media day the other day at Old Trafford in Carrington was that a lot of people have forgotten how big Manchester United are, and that includes our players. And then I'm looking at that Sean Dyche overlap interview the other day with Gary Neville and the overlap crew, and what Sean Dyche was saying, he reckons that he would have more wins than Ruben Amorim right now. And it's all right him saying that, but Sean Dyche also alluded, and a lot of other people have said this, like, what are the players thinking right now? Ruben Amorim is digging out these players constantly all of the time. In certain ways, in press conferences and interviews, saying like these players need to realise where they are. We are the worst Manchester United side in the club's history. And he's said himself at times, like he's a young manager who's making mistakes when he's talking in these press conferences and interviews. But is it good or bad that he's constantly digging out these players the way he is? Look, he's not naming names, and he's not saying this is a terrible player or anything like that, but saying that these players have forgotten how big Manchester United are, stating the obvious, which we all know, but you cannot get away with it all the time. And as refreshing as it is for a manager to come out and say what we're all seeing, is it causing a problem? And if this summer doesn't go well for Ruben Amorim, and the exodus that is necessary doesn't happen, has he then got a bunch of players that are just not believing in him? And is it over already for Ruben before the season starts? That's how I look at that. I get what Sean Dyche is saying. I get what other people are saying. I love the fact that Ruben is honest and has told us what's going on. I think we know a lot more about what's happening in and around Manchester United now. But I'm thinking, if it doesn't go right this summer, which is a great chance of, and you put all of these stories together, so Jim Ratcliffe's wealth dropping off, Manchester United not having the money to spend. Players don't want to leave United on these big contracts. You look at everything else together, there's a lot of work to do. And if it doesn't go well for Ruben Amorim this summer, and we don't get the players in we need, and the players don't leave that really do need to leave to help him, he's stuck with this same group of players next season. And there's only one thing that can happen then once that transfer window is closed. And that's get rid of the manager. And that's my biggest fear in all of this. It is, like, the ultimate fear is that Ruben Amorim is sacked before Christmas and we have to do this all over again. Another rinse and repeat scenario. And the shortest lived manager since David Moyes at Manchester United. And we all thought that Ruben was the right man. And everything was going to go perfectly for him. God. Good night, Adam. I'm up at 5 a.m. to watch these shitheads live. Hope they put in a good shift. Mane, legend. Thank you, mate. And that pretty much finishes our show, everybody. Absolutely brilliant one. It's definitely divided opinion, the show today, 100%. And you only have to look at that in the poll and the results there up in the live chat right now. It's, 1,400 votes, and 53% of you have said that it won't be a good move to send Mason Mount out on loan. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Drop them in below, everybody. And obviously, when the live is finished, get across there. Give the video a like as well if you're loving the content. Thank you so much for all the likes, by the way. We had 300 while we've been live. Make sure you also hit that subscribe button. We're not hiding around subjects. We're bringing up the important ones, and we're talking about the necessary stuff here on Forever United TV. And it all matters. I'll be back later on at probably around about lunchtime again, looking ahead to the game as well and bringing you all of the up-to-date news around Manchester United. It's going to be a match day content day today. We are kickstarting all of the match content at 7 o'clock here on YouTube later on as well, everybody. So make sure you're tuned in for that. There will be another show before that as well, though, around about lunchtime, just so you're aware of what is happening on the show today. Mods, thank you so much. Everybody who put in donations today, absolute legends, brilliant. New members and anyone who is a new subscriber, hello, welcome.